and welcome to Martin's Park Life, a channel that tells the stories about Knowle Park, a country park and nature reserve in Cranleigh in the Surrey Hills. The stories that make this place so special. I'm Martin Bamford. Today we're doing something that may feel a little bit counterintuitive. I'm destroying a newly planted wildflower meadow, one right behind me here. Now that feels counterintuitive because we don't want to be destroying nature when we're creating a nature reserve and a country park. We want to be supporting it, but there's a very good reason for doing what we're doing. When we created Knowle Park, we planted acres of wildflower meadows to support biodiversity, to support the ecology of a park, the insects, the birds, the animals. But planting a wildflower meadow is no simple task. In fact, it's turned out to be surprisingly difficult. And that's one of the reasons I'm out here right now cutting the thing down, to actually help it thrive in the future, to help it get established. Now grasses, as we can see plenty of grasses around here, grasses are part of a wildflower meadow. But left unchecked, grasses can quickly subsume all of the coverage and they can suppress the growth of the wildflowers we're looking for. So it's good practice when you're establishing a wildflower meadow to give it a few cuts in the first year or so at, as I said earlier, what might feel like counterintuitive times. So we are cutting the grasses back, taking some of the energy out of this meadow at the moment and giving the wildflowers we want to see flourish within the meadow an opportunity to grow. Now, we've had a huge amount of debate within the team here at Knowle Park about the best way of getting this done. We've looked at all sorts of different options. At one point, I was even looking at going on an Austrian scything course, but what we've settled on is a walk-behind powered scythe. So it's a petrol mower effectively with a big bar across the front, which is a bit like a hedge cutter, and it's self-propelled, so you walk along behind it and walk up and down the wildflower meadows, and it chops off the grasses and all of the plants and things right down at the base of the stem. Very clean cut, so it's not mulching it. Now we do have a tractor here at Knowle Park and we've got a pull behind flail mower. So one option was to go over the meadows with that flail, but actually by doing that you're running over all the grasses, all the plants first with the big tractor tyres, you're chopping everything up and mulching it and putting lots of energy and lots of nutrients back into the soil. So what we've decided to do with this approach is a much cleaner cut that chops them off at the base, lets them lie over and dry out in the sun, and then we can rake it all off and take it away from the meadow. So all of that nutrient and energy doesn't go back down into the soil. Wildflowers don't really like lots of nutrients, they don't like lots of energy. They want to have quite bare earth, nutrient-free earth. So this is why we're doing what we're doing with this fantastic bit of kit. I want to tell you a little bit about that mower. I have to read this bit off my notes because I'll never memorise it. It's the ALKO BM 5001R2 scythe mower. There we go, what a name. The bar I talked about, which is at the front, is 102 centimetres wide, so just over a metre of cut each time you walk up and down. And it's a bit like a hedge cutter, just a reciprocating motion backwards and forwards. Petrol engine on the back, runs on a very small tank of petrol for maybe an hour and a half at a time. And it's a brilliant bit of kit. My only slight criticism is the vibration that comes through the handles, leave my hands feeling quite tingly for about an hour or so afterwards. But other than that, it's an absolute beast of a machine. But this is a time-consuming process. So far, I think I'm on session number 5 today of cutting the meadow. I've probably put 10 to 12 hours into walking up and down and doing this. Now, we've got a lot of meadow here. This is a big space. I'm not sure how many acreages we're looking at the moment, but probably at least 4 or 5 acres for this part I'm doing right now. Another acre or so on the other side I need to get to later. So it's a lot of work to do this. And of course, once we've cut it and left it to dry out in the sun for a week or so, so the seeds can fall through into the grass, into the ground again, our volunteers need to then come through and start raking stuff up, taking it away. So there's even more work to do there. I would say probably for this size of meadow, we're looking at anywhere between 20 and 30 hours of work total to get it cut. And we're in August at the moment, so it's quite early in the season to be doing that cut. We'll probably have to come back and do it again in the spring to take some of that winter grass growth off as well. And again, we're going to be looking at 20 to 30 hours of work to do it again back in the spring. And then hopefully once established, we'll get into our regular summer, end of summer hay cut. So probably late August, early September, normal hay cut for the wildflower meadow at that point. But right now, this is all about getting it established, giving these wildflowers the best possible chance of growing and outcompeting some of these grasses. Now, one of the reasons we picked the powered scythe to do this particular job is it's less destructive than the tractor and the flail mower. Now, I've noticed this within the past few cuts I've done. Earlier today, I rescued I think a baby pheasant, a poult, which was just in front of the mower. So I managed to stop the mower in time, pick it up, put it somewhere safe. I've seen toads running around, I've seen voles running around, all sorts of insects flying out of the path before I get to them. So doing it by hand effectively, albeit with a machine, but doing it by hand allows a much more considered approach for the wildlife. It means that the wildlife's not being absolutely massacred as we go around. The other thing we're doing is we're leaving margins. So we're not just flattening the whole thing and mowing the whole thing out. We're leaving quite wide strips, 2-3 metre wide strips at the edge of each field to ensure that wildlife has a bit of a refuge. So the insects, the invertebrates, the animals, the toads, the pheasants I mentioned, they've all got somewhere they can go. So we're not being completely destructive within this process. And I just think it's a much more considerate way of managing a wildflower meadow, to do it by hand, to do it on foot, rather than from the cab of your tractor going up and down and just destroying everything in your wake. Now, it's fair to say that wildflower meadows in the UK are in an awful lot of trouble. In the past century alone, an estimated 97% of wildflower meadows have been lost. Lots of reasons for that to happen, but intensive agriculture and increased urbanisation are behind that. So it's really important that where we can, even on a very small scale, we establish new wildflower meadows. We plant new ones where we can. Because make no mistake, these wildflower meadows are vital for ecology. They support such a huge range of wildlife. Everything from butterflies and bees to very, very tiny invertebrates. But as I've seen over the last few days, voles and toads and snakes, birds, all sorts of things live in here. So this is a really crucial part of the ecological system. We're sitting in it right now. Getting these things established, planting new ones, is just so, so important. I don't think we can underestimate the importance of it. Restoring wildflower meadows isn't just the responsibility of parks and conservationists, it's down to all of us. And even if we do it on a very small scale, we can make big, big improvements. Stop using pesticides. Try and find just small patches of ground where you can plant native wildflower seeds. And all of a sudden, if we all start doing this, we'll be supporting so much more of the ecology that's really struggling right now. So here I am sat in this newly established wildflower meadow within Knowle Park. It's a beautiful space. I do feel slightly bad about going through it with the mower and cutting it all to pieces and taking it right back down to bare earth. But fingers crossed, it will mean next spring and next summer we'll see some fantastic wildflowers flourishing within the park. What I especially love about this wildflower meadow within the context of Knowle Park is that it provides an educational opportunity. When visitors come here, we can have information boards up and we can talk to them about the importance of wildflowers, about why we're trying to restore them, about why we're trying to plant them and get them well established. Even having conversations with park visitors about why I'm walking up and down for hours a day with this mower is helping people understand the reasons we're doing what we're doing. So if you're inspired by what we're doing here at Knowle Park, please do consider trying to establish a wildflower meadow of your own. Regardless of how small it is, it's still a meadow, trust me. So find a patch of ground somewhere, get hold of some seeds and go for it. Get those wildflowers growing and you should see loads of bees and butterflies and possibly other species too, really making that place home. And if you want to find out more about wildflower meadows, about biodiversity, about some of the fantastic things we're doing here at Knowle Park in Cranleigh, do subscribe to my channel. It's called Martin's Park Life. Hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment below to let me know what you think of what we're doing here and the approach we're taking to wildflower meadow management. And do click on the links in the video description to find out more about Knowle Park. It's a really fantastic place and all the things we're doing here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.